WeatherScope.
Sweet. Awesome. This is way awesome. It's the coolest thing I've ever seen. It's great.
And that's what skiers are saying in Crested Butte, Colorado.
That's one of the few places where excessive snow is appreciated. In the rest of the country, it's pretty calm, aside from patches of snow and rain. Good evening and welcome to WeatherScope. I'm Kim Perez.
And I'm Paul Emick. In our El Nino Focus tonight, we'll be taking a look at how history is used to predict current conditions. But first, let's take a look at the East Coast, where people are still feeling the effects of some recent ice storms. Slipping and sliding seem to be the main mode of travel in New Haven, Connecticut. An ice storm this week has residents walking with care. Look at this. That box just blowing around there. Storm left about 16,000 people without power. Crews are working around the clock just to get the lights back on. That is tough. That is just too much of a mess. There's so many messes across the eastern part of the U.S., but at least not as widespread as the massive ice of last weekend. Still, some snow into parts of Ohio, into Michigan, into Wisconsin, also along the coast. Let's have a look at what we can expect here. 87 could be real problematic with some snow. Now, don't expect the amounts to be super heavy. This graphic is a real good way to show you exactly what can be expected as far as the snowfall, because from here over, we're expecting primarily a rain event. That is the case tonight. Now around Pittsburgh, around McCandless, some snow. On toward Harrisburg and Lancaster, and then eastward, even toward Philly, it's rain. But north of here, and even including Johnstown and around Erie, snowfall. Ithaca, also Syracuse and Rochester with snowfall now, and a bit of rain against south into Delaware, and even a mix of rain and snow into West Virginia. If you back up just a bit around Cleveland, we have snow. But around Akron, reporting some freezing rain. Around Cuyahoga Falls, too, some snowfall coming in. And again, western PA picking up a few flakes right now. Not as much happening on Indianapolis tonight. 65 and 69 are relatively not really seeing anything active as far as action tonight. Northern parts of Michigan, yeah, especially the UP. Quite a bit of snow can be expected. Rhinelander, also Wausau, reporting snow. Chicago, dry for now. That is for now. Right through here, though, that's where we expect maybe 1 to 3, not a super heavy amount from the legend there, 1 to 3 inches where you see the shading on the map. Now here's a front. Now you might not really know a front was going through. Fronts are big lifters when it gets a hold of a moist air mass, but it couldn't find much moisture. The storm that's way out to sea gobbled up most of it. About the only thing this is doing is providing a little cooler air back behind it. 15 around Minneapolis and around a White Bear Lake tonight, and the wind chill makes it feel like -1. Let's have a look at the west. With that, here's Kim Perez.
Thanks, Paul. Well, looking at the western half of the country, another storm is moving in from the Pacific, and the Colorado slopes are a blanket of white. Here's a look at the extreme games in Crested Butte, Colorado from the driver's seat. Snowmobile races are just part of the fun in Ski Town. Spectators could also see some snowboard races and ice climbing, and if they were really lucky, they saw the Weather Channel's very own Jim Cantore.
I think it's indirectly responsible. I mean, it's indirectly responsible for just about everything, so surely it can be added into the mix.
Well, people in Crested Butte say they've never seen so many people in their town. No word on how Jim Cantore placed in the snowmobile snowcross. And I believe Jim was talking about El Nino out there. Okay, well, the west. Well, typically you'd look to the southwest. You know, a lot of folks were concerned about if El Nino is going to really be a big problem here in the southwest. And we really haven't seen that too much this year, but we still have a couple of months left of winter. So we'll keep an eye on that for you. But you've been seeing it here across the Pacific Northwest, and a warm front is moving northward, not really bringing a lot of precipitation with it. Some good news, but just off to the west, though, we have the cold front that'll be bringing the heavier rain. Here's the front that'll be coming through Colorado, and the snow is falling. Some fresh powder up there in Aspen, Vail, Crested Butte, Denver. Right now, not reporting any snow. It's just off to your west here. Some northwesterly winds, actually somewhat of a downsloping wind. Temperatures were really nice around Denver. 40 degrees right now, but 50 earlier today. Phoenix earlier today got to 70 degrees. Now, most of the moisture again is coming up to the north. Our storm track is in the northern California and in the Pacific Northwest, but not with the warm front this time around. It'll be with the cold front, just some isolated showers. It'll be very windy. The winds will be picking up here across the west. Now with a look at El Nino, here's Paul.
In tonight's El Nino Focus, we'll look at how scientists use El Nino events of the past to predict the future one. Here's Janetta Jones.
During the spring of 1991, research scientists at Columbia University's Lamont Doherty Earth Observatory saw signs of a developing El Nino. Sea surface temperature models showed a definite warming of Pacific Ocean waters. This was the first time an El Nino had been predicted. but scientists couldn't predict how it would impact North America. In December of '91, tornadoes, hail, high winds, and excessive rain hit the state of Texas hard. The stormy pattern lasted for almost 3 months. Major flooding stretched from West Texas to the southern Gulf Coast. Many rivers flowed out of their banks. Quickly rising waters turned roads and streets into death traps. In California, a 6-year drought finally came to an end during February 1992. It rained for nearly 2 weeks. Los Angeles was inundated. Mudslides swept away hillside homes. Floods turned highways into raging rivers. Unfortunately, 11 people were killed. This was the only major rain event in Southern California during the 91-92 El Nino. El Nino's impact on the 1992 hurricane season was undeniable. There were only 5 named storms. An average season has 10. A low number of storms in the Atlantic is typical during an El Nino year. However, El Nino has no impact on a storm's intensity.
1992, for example, we had Hurricane Andrew. Andrew was the only hurricane that year that had any strength to mount to anything at all, and yet that was the most devastating hurricane, did the most damage anyway, of any hurricane that ever struck the United States.
Andrew hit South Florida in late August with a second landfall in Louisiana. Damage totaled $25 billion, the biggest natural disaster in U.S. history. Janetta Jones, The Weather Channel.
Okay, let's take a look at your forecast. You can join us every night for El Nino Focus. Now let's get you through tomorrow. Well, in the morning, looking pretty good all the way up the East Coast here. The front is through. The precipitation should be ending, especially here in upstate New York. Could see a little flurry activity, but that's really about it. Then we watch another front coming in from the west, and it's going to be the same idea. We're going to see the snow falling again around the Great Lakes. But we do have a southern system here that will be skirting across the south, and by the afternoon we'll be looking at rain now into Huntsville. And eventually this rain will make it into Georgia, into Atlanta, probably late Sunday night. A little bit of snow on the northern fringes here, not enough to really make any big problems. And then the west coast getting slammed with this front, and we are going to be talking about very gusty winds, maybe over 50 miles per hour, especially along the coastal areas. We do have warnings up. Heavy surf warnings and coastal gale warnings up for that area. But tonight, just some light precipitation. The heaviest rain will come in tomorrow. Did you see that snow forecast in the Rockies? Good news for all you skiers out there. And highs, well, in Denver, actually, it shouldn't be too bad again with temperatures in the upper 40s, low 50s or so.
It's not bad for January.
No way.
Could be kind of wet tonight if you're traveling for the Pacific Northwest. That could be a problem.
Well, we'll look at conditions.